Well, let's get more now on the tell-all interview with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. American audiences were the first to see the 2-hour special in which Harry and Meghan made a series of serious allegations about the royal family. Let's hear reaction from some of the American breakfast shows.
Good morning. Going nuclear.
I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
Stunning after stunning allegation in Meghan Markle's tell-all interview with Oprah Winfrey, the Duchess accusing the palace of flagrant racism.
Oh, boy. Good morning to you. I know that's what I'm thinking, too. Good morning to you and welcome to CBS This Morning. Is your jaw still on the floor? A lot of people's are today. Because pick a word to describe what we saw last night.
Riveting.
Riveting. I'll go with shocking.
I was going to say bonkers.
But we're going to begin with that explosive interview overnight. Harry and Meghan sat down with Oprah and let loose. Stunning claims from Meghan about how she was treated by the royal family, especially when it came to her mental health.
Harry and Meghan also alleging they were concerned about Archie's skin color before he was born.
Well, let's cross live to southwest London. We can talk to Victoria Howard, the editor of the Crown Chronicles. Good to talk to you today, Victoria. What did you make of the interview? 2 hours long. We understand that there's another 2 hours on the cutting room floor. Clearly a lot of stuff to discuss.
There really was, and there are so many different things that we could talk about right now. But I think for me, the two things that stood out were the racism that came through, particularly about those comments about the potential colour of Archie's skin. And secondly, just how low Meghan had gotten from the restrictions and the boundaries that royal life give, as well as the press intrusion and scrutiny. So for me, hugely shocked. And I think the palace really do need to respond to what has been said, or they're going to lose a lot of credibility with the public.
I mean, do you think that she was naive in many ways about what life within the royal family would be like? And if so, is that partly because she's American and that there is a certain clash of cultures and her knowledge, her experience of the royal family and what place it has in society is perhaps different to what ours is here in the UK?
I think so, and it kind of sounded like Meghan was admitting that in the interview, saying that, you know, she really didn't do her research and she kind of just didn't know all these things. But equally, that kind of sounds like Prince Harry didn't do his job. You know, he's grown up in this institution. He knows what that the press can be like. He knows what the rules and kind of regulations are to be part of the royal family. So it sounds like he didn't really tell her or explain it very well, if he did, that this is the way it's going to be. Of course, I'm sure no one could kind of anticipate that it would go the way it has, you know, particularly with the tone the press have taken in recent years with the couple. But it just sounds like there was very much a lack of understanding about the entire scenario. And perhaps that indicates that maybe they did rush into the marriage a little bit.
What do you think is going on behind the scenes now? You know, we spoke to Kevin Craig a short while ago and he was saying that he thinks it's really important that whatever is happening behind closed doors and that actually, you know, the relationships need to be mended, fences need to be mended.
I agree with Kevin on that. I think that this needs to be a properly measured response. You know, this is not just the other side of the story. This is the British monarchy on the other side of the story. They need to be clear in what they're saying. They need to kind of take accountability, share what they need to share to actually, I don't want to say deny these claims, but they need to explain what's happened. And I think the fact that it needs to go on behind closed doors, it needs to be measured, take a few days to probably do that. But it needs to be robust, because I think a lot of people have questioned their perceptions and beliefs in the monarchy as a system.
And what about the relationship between Harry and Prince Charles? You know, Prince Charles is, of course, heir to the throne, and now we discover that he is not taking his son's calls. Was it known privately that the relationship had disintegrated so much?
I think that we can kind of read between the lines that it probably was known that was happening. You know, particularly with the whole Sandringham summit that happened in January of 2020, that there was a kind of a line. Charles said he wanted everything in writing. Now, it does sound quite dramatic to say he stopped taking his calls, but Charles is known to be a workaholic, you know, working very long hours and days. And equally like the Queen, he basically puts the institution first. He is the next king. It is his responsibility, alongside the Queen, who's obviously 94 now, to protect the institution itself. which is probably why it sounds so callous, because the royals can be, when it comes to that, they know that at the centre of everything is the protection of the institution itself, duty before anything else. So it does come across as really quite sad. And I think that's the other thing about this. This is such a sad, family feud, so to speak, that is played out so very, very publicly. And I just really feel sorry for them as a couple.
Are there any positives to be gained from this? The royal family clearly is a very stuffy, very old-fashioned institution. This interview and what has happened with Harry and Meghan may well cause people to question the institution itself, but also how it is organised and how it is run. Could it help bring the monarchy up to date?
I think there would need to be a number of really deep changes for it to actually come up to date and kind of bounce back from this, to prove that they were doing something better and improving, because a lot of people will draw the parallel between this situation and Diana, and I don't think that's unfair. Of course, the situation is slightly different, but it does seem that lessons have not been learned. Can they get it right third time round? I don't think the monarchy are going to come out of this, but I think Harry and Meghan, the positives for them of this interview, they've told their side of the story. And secondly, I think more people have a better understanding of why they stepped away. I think before it kind of sounded a little bit, we're having a tough time, we can't cope. Now we've seen this, we kind of understand the real depths of these problems. It wasn't just they felt a bit pressured, it was genuine. Meghan said she felt suicidal. I think everyone can agree that's very serious.
And we spoke to Dean Stott, who's a friend of Prince Harry's, a short while ago, and he said, in particular, he was surprised to hear about that, given how much he himself had done with the royal family in terms of raising awareness of mental health problems. Do you think there is a problem that perhaps the royal family is doing something very publicly but not doing it internally?
Yeah, that's definitely something that I think we can draw as a conclusion from this, that they're preaching about this, but maybe, and of course we can't determine if this is specifically individual members of the royal family or if it's more about the kind of courtiers and the palace machinery. But there's kind of some barriers internally to actually making this happen, making this work, giving people the support they need, which in such a public-facing role, such scrutiny that comes with it, that's super, super important. And I think very few people would argue that that is something that shouldn't be prioritised for members of the royal family.
Victoria Howard from the Crown Chronicles, thanks a lot.